do. I'm like, oh. I start singing, take the shackles off my feet so I could dance. Take the shackles. I'm singing that.
Right.
And I said, that's dope. Like, don't forget it. I finished the shower. I still got the towel on. I run in there. I'm like, stop. I stopped the music. I'm like, this is it. Take the shackles off my feet so I. They was like, and that was, I said, this is it.
I'm Geremy Dixon, and you're listening to the Misfit Manifesto. Warryn Campbell is a music visionary, executive and leading producer of R&B, gospel, and hip-hop music. Campbell's mastery to create chart-topping hits across a multitude of genres has made him one of the most prolific record producers of our time. On today's episode, I will talk with Warryn about his transition from gospel to R&B, pioneering music in the early 2000s, and get his opinion, his insight, and perspective on where music is headed. This is Warryn Campbell. Let's welcome him to the space. Come on, producers and everybody, let's make him feel welcome.
Geremy Dixon, an Apollo legend.
Come on now. I'll take it. Whatever accolades I can get, man. Dude, how you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. Living the dream, man. I got a big coat on, so I'm good. It's freezing in here.
Got a big coat on. We like to keep it cool, baby. You understand what I'm saying?
Keep it cool. Keep it cool.
It's like, Warryn, you, first of all, you're a local legend, but you've done work literally clear across the globe.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been everywhere. From touring, playing, producing. I mean, like, of the places you've been, what's your favorite?
I'm going to have to say, only because I have not been, it's crazy, have not been to Africa yet.
Wait, time out. You never been there at all?
Never been. I was supposed to go spend a month in Africa right before the pandemic.
Got you.
I was doing a deal there
Okay.
with Universal, and it got cut. But before, so I'm guessing that's going to be one of my favorite places when I get there.
Yeah.
But right now, it's two places. One is London. I love working in London.
Okay.
My favorite studios in the world are in London.
Okay.
But there's a little space called G-Jam Studios down in Jamaica.
Really?
In the hills of Port Antonio.
You said a little something on that when you said that word, brother.
Yeah, maybe you want to speak patois.
Okay, what is it about this spot?
First of all, you go in there, the gates open, and it's up in the bush. You go into the airport and you drive 2 hours up a mountain. No traffic lights, no street signs, just dirt roads. And you go into this big gate. It's a big, huge house sitting there, and there's villas in the bush. Go down into the bush, there's a gym there. Go further down into the bush, there's a big studio. The studio has a deck on top of it. You go up to the deck, it's just water.
Wow.
And you can hear the music that you made in the studio up on the deck. And yeah,
That's crazy.
And they're cooking food all day. They cook porters, maids, everything's there.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Now,
it's amazing.
anybody of note that's cut records there?
Plenty of people.
Okay.
My first time going there was in probably like 99, 2000.
Okay.
With Drew Hill.
Get out.
We did a whole album there.
Really?
Spent like a month or two there. Yeah, it was crazy.
Drew Hill, hit songs. You wrote it. You were part of like one of their biggest hits. Was it the
How Deep Is Your Love?
Rush Hour?
The Rush Hour soundtrack. That was my first #1 song. That was 1998. That was one of the first things I ever did.
How old were you?
22? 22, 23, something like that.
So how does that song come into being? Like, what's the scenario?
My manager at the time started managing them too.
Okay.
And he managed one other producer. Shout out to my man, Rick Kuzan, Big Dutch is what we call him.
Okay.
Dutch did We Be Clubbing and all that stuff for Ice Cube.
Everybody well, I should know. Go ahead. Your turn, not my turn. Go ahead.
So he said, I'm going to get you guys in with Drew Hill. I was like, oh, what? Okay. So we got together, started working, and they said, we have this opportunity to go to do the Rush Hour soundtrack. I said, okay. So we did the song. Now, on the original song, it has Redman on the song. Mm-hmm. When they shot the video in Hong Kong. And Redman, for whatever reason, we don't know, could not leave the country.
Okay.
So, there's no bridge in the song. So they need to fly me, because they left me at home. Everybody went over to Hong Kong to shoot the video with Jackie Chan and Brett Ratner, who directed the film, did the video.
Got it.
So they called me and says, we need you to come to Hong Kong. I said, Hong Kong? I said, yeah. There's no bridge. We got to create a bridge because there's no rap in the song, so you have to do some musical changes. So I get over to Hong Kong, man. It was just the most amazing thing I ever seen in my life. And they shot the video. It was really, really hot. The tallest building in Hong Kong, on top of some crazy building. Jackie Chan, we met him. Brett Ratner's there. It was a crazy experience. And to see it come out and within weeks be #1.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
what is that like? I mean, you figure this is your first hit. You had written before, I assume.
I had wrote some stuff before, but nothing hit like this.
So what's that moment? What's the feeling?
At the time, I'm being coached and raised in the music business by a guy named John Platt, who was my publisher.
Okay.
And this guy really, now he's the chairman and CEO of Sony Music Publishing. But then he was the creative director of EMI Music Publishing. Mm-hmm. He literally would coach me and talk to me every day. He had this thing with me about celebrating. Did not allow it.
Really?
If I came in talking about this How Deep Is Your Love record, went #1, if I hear that record, if I hear you say that How Deep Is Your Love one more time, I don't want to hear about that. Nobody cares what you did. They only care about what you do next. Go make another one. Can you do it again? Can you do it again? That was the thing.
Wow.
And I'm kind of like that with all my artists.
Yeah.
I don't care about, do it again.
Yeah.
Because if you do it again and again and again, now you got something.
Yeah.
This one record ain't going to change your life.
Yeah.
10 of them will.
Yeah, right. Speaking of that, so I was trying to do the math. You got 30 nominations and like how many Grammy nominations do you have?
I don't know. Where'd that number come from?
I feel like how many Grammys have you won? Do you even know? Or did John beat it in your head not to remember how many Grammys you won?
I know I'm missing one because it hadn't came yet. I just won last year.
Okay.
For best rap song, Kanye featuring Jay-Z. There's Erica's solo album. I won for that. And there's 3 other statues for Mary Mary Records. And then there's all the Grammy plaques that they give you for being on projects that win.
Got it. So
those are
including all of
Grammys.
those, I mean...
It's like 13.
That's incredible.
And we're nominated this year, too.
Really, for what?
Erica Campbell, Positive. Her single
out.
Positive, yeah.
That's super dope.
It's amazing. God is good, man. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to circle back because I'm going to talk about Mary Mary, I'm going to talk about Shackles, but a little bit later.
Okay.
But for now, so Dru Hill is the first hit you have, but that's not the first group you started working with. You started with DJ Quick.
So, yeah, in 11th or 12th grade, a friend of mine who I grew up with, his name was DJ Rogers Jr., he knew everybody.
Okay.
So this is my senior year, and I'm going to grad night. I get a call from DJ. He says, yo, I got this song that I want to work on, but can you come to the studio? I said, but I'm going to grad night. He said, man, you got to come to the studio. I go to the studio, and he's working with some group, whatever. He gets in a fight that night with one of the guys in the group. And at the studio, we leave. He comes to my house, and we work on the song at my house. He wakes up the next morning and says, yo, I want to get DJ Quick to put the drums on the song. I said, what do you mean DJ Quick? Yeah, that's like my brother. Man, you lying. You don't know DJ Quick. He was like, I do. He calls him. He said, yeah, man, y'all come out to the house in Rialto. We drive out there to the house, and DJ Quick we're at DJ Quick's house. I'm like, what in the world is happening right now? So we showed him a song. I played. He said, oh, man, you can play. Like, he loves my playing. And invites me to come and work with him on his 3rd album, Safe and Sound. Which is one of the coldest albums ever. Yep. Right?
Yep.
And so we started working, and I'm playing on all the songs and in the room with him while I'm watching him, because he has a device I've never seen before. It's a drum machine called a Kai MPC 62, right?
That's one of the earlier models, right?
Yeah, it's the second iteration of that machine.
Yeah.
So this is during a time where, entourages.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's a bunch of people there. As long as he's playing that music loud in the studio, everybody's dancing, they're drinking beer, having fun. he would break it down and put it on the small speakers and listen low, because now he's digging in the crates, going through records, trying to find sounds. Everybody would leave, except me. I'd be in the corner watching him. He wouldn't even know I was there. I'm just watching, like, what is he doing on that machine? What is that? And then he would go to the bathroom or go out and something. I'd go out and press the machine. I'd go, oh, man, what is this? So I saw what it was. I wrote it down.
So was he loading in sounds from?
He was sampling records, vinyl records.
It.
He had a turntable and the drum machine, and another drum machine called a EMU SP1200. It's like the hip hop staple, right? Yeah. So he's doing all. I'm like, what is going on? What is this? I've never seen this before, right? So I wrote it down, and I looked and tried to buy one. It was way too expensive. Then I went to the recycler.
I remember the recycler.
The newspaper.
Yep. Faithful.
Found one for $800. So I'm gonna buy it. So I go buy the joint. I go to Quick. I say, Quick, I went and bought a drum machine like you got. He was like, what? He frowned his face up. And I said, oh man. I'm like, did I mess up? And he said, hold on. He walked away. I'm sitting there going, man, I don't know what the heck is happening. He comes back with a briefcase. It's like an anvil briefcase. Opens it up, and there's all these floppy disks in it with all his sounds, all his songs from all his albums. Hands it to him. He says, take this home, copy everything, and bring it back. I'm going to show you how to work it.
First of all, I don't think any of our listeners under the age of 40 knows what a floppy disk is. Let's just start there.
Yeah. I can't even, and I can't explain it. It's okay. It would be today a thumb drive.
Got it.
Right?
All right. Yep. That makes sense.
Okay.
So he's got all of his stuff. Like, this is DJ Quick.
DJ Quick.
So all of his stuff,
his
he literally
sound.
puts it
sounds that
in
he
your
dug
hand
through the crates through, and he
created.
sampled himself. Gave them to me. Said, go through all the stuff. I mean, I didn't copy everything. I just went through and stuff that I, and my first music, the first Mary Mary album, those are all, when you hear Shackles, listen to Shackles and then go compare it to DJ Quick's song Dollars and Cents on that Safe and Sound album.
Really?
It's the same drum loop.
Dude, that's
same
dope.
drum loop on Let's Get Down by Tony.
That cold-blooded.
And I've been using that loop a lot. It's just like one of my staples.
So here's a question. Do you feel like that was just him, or he saw something specific in you that made him want to invest in you?
One of the things was, I think I was one of the only guys interested. Because like I said, everybody else, when it was party time, they're not interested in that.
Yeah.
And I'm like there with him, and he knows, I can play. I'm absorbing it.
Yeah.
And I think, that's who he is anyway.
Got it.
But I think he saw something in me, because anytime I was with him, like if he walks in the room right now, I mean, as we're speaking, if he walked in this room, he's going to start teaching us. It was like, that cameraman, you know what you should do is this and that. He'll be like, you know what, let's EQ this room. And he's a genius. This guy can.
He's underrated, man.
Very underrated. People give Dre and Dre should get the credit.
Dre's dope, yeah.
He's the man. But DJ Quick is right there.
He's right there.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And it feels like, if I'm thinking back, Quick, and I could be wrong because I'm not in you guys' industry, but he felt more melodic, or he felt more musical than other. Like you felt like you were hearing just a hip hop artist, but he was bringing you music.
Real music.
And
the difference is, in hip hop, it's about clips, little clips. So some guys would take a 4-bar clip and loop it and rap over it. Quick was like, no. I want you to play this part all the way down the song, 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 5 minutes. That way, somewhere in the middle, you'll have different changes. It'll feel different here, it'll feel different there. And we played all that stuff down, like old school, like it was. And there were no computers in the studio back then.
Right.
No computers. Right. It was just a tape machine going, and we just playing.
We all using DAT and ADAT, and was that?
That was before ADAT even.
Really?
ADAT came a little bit like maybe a few years later after that. But it was none of that, man.
That's crazy. That's dope. And I feel like, it's so funny when you talk about the way you kind of approach the environment with Quick, there's a lot of curiosity there. Like
Tons of curiosity, and that's where we thrive.
I was about to say, has that been like what you attribute a lot of your success to?
I attribute pretty much 80% of my success to being inquisitive.
Yeah.
And really curious about everything. Like, and asking a lot. I get on people's nerves. But I read something Or maybe I saw an interview or something when I was younger about Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
When he was a kid, how he would just drive people crazy, asking questions. And I figured, like, he's Michael Jackson. I'm going to ask questions.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
even when I find myself in a room with, you know, Quincy Jones, or I remember I did a session with Lionel Richie one time. We were working for 3 days. I asked more questions than we worked. I don't even think we finished the song because I was like, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? I asked a lot of questions. So I'm very curious about technology, about how it works, where it can go. Did we miss anything? Did we leave anything behind that we should have brought with us? You know,
Yeah.
I'm curious about all these different things. You know, how to make music for the metaverse. You know,
Yeah.
I started making records. I just put out an album in last October. Artist named Lena Bird Miles that I signed. I created another version of the album for the metaverse that's sped up and pitched down. Sounds like you're underwater.
Really?
Yeah. I said we're gonna do this for all the artists.
Where does that come? How did you know to do that? What is the precedent? What's the reference for that?
Curiosity. I was playing with a program and I was messing around with this little program that I use, and I put a song through there. I sped it up and said, "Oh, that sounds pretty cool." And I said, "Let me speed it up and pitch it down." I said, "Oh, that's cool. Let's do the whole album like this." And I would drive around with it and I'd send it to her, and she was like, "This is jamming." It's because she sounds like a man singing now. So it's pitched down, but it's faster. She's like, "Man, this stuff is amazing." So I'm like, "Okay, let's start doing that." And so just being curious, trying to figure things out. I mean, I've electrocuted myself plenty of times as a kid. I'm the kid that took the radios apart.
Right.
I'll take all the cameras apart. I want to see what's in it. You know, I'm that guy. Yeah, always. My dad would come home and his bass guitars, all the strings be off because I'm trying to figure out how it works. I want to know how it works.
So, okay, that brings me to another question. So, your upbringing, music is in your history.
Oh yeah.
So, tell us about that. Like, what's the backstory as far as your first introduction to music?
My first introduction to music is 100% church.
Okay.
My father and mother met in a little church called King's Chapel on the east side of L.A. King's Chapel Apostolic Church. I was the first baby born in that church because when they started the church, it was a bunch of teenagers there and grown people. And my parents met. My dad came home from New York from graduating high school. His father made him promise to go to this church. He really didn't want to go, but when he got here, all his cousins were hungover and drunk. Nobody wanted to hang out, so he said, "I'll just go to this church." He went and met my mom. A few years later, they get married. They have me in the church. The bishop's daughter, 2 daughters. One of the daughters is the lead singer of a group called the Honeycomb.
Yeah.
Edna Wright Perry.
Okay,
Who's my
when
godmother.
you said King's Chapel, I thought about Melody,
and all of them. Yeah.
Joe, all them, the Wrights.
The Wrights. I was born in that church.
Get out of here.
I was the first. I'm older than all of them.
Okay.
So they're all like my little brothers and sisters. Like they all came like 2 years later after I was born.
Okay.
And so Melody's mom is my godmother, right?
Got it.
I mean, and so in that church, because her and her older sister they were stars. They sang backgrounds with everybody, had albums out. They were like, and so because of that, everybody came to our church. Just visited. Dionne Warwick would be there. Elder Barge would be there. I remember U2 came to the church one time.
U2,
but
like
now
Bono U2?
Yeah, Bono showed up to church. But our church, between their family and my family, my family was, my dad played bass, my mom was in the choir, my uncle was on the organ, my other cousin was on the drums. A bunch of my cousins were in the choir. Between the Wright family and our family, which was my mom's side of the family, which was the Gray family, the music was crazy. Now, the head of that was a guy, my cousin, my oldest cousin. He's my uncle. I call him uncle, but he's my cousin. His name was Michael Gray.
Okay.
Michael Gray was the voice of the song Fat Albert, the intro song, "I'm Gonna Sing a Song." That's my Uncle Michael. He also, on the road, played The Lion and the Wiz with Stephanie Mills.
Yeah.
He I guess, what do you call that? Understudy.
Yep.
For the main guy on Broadway. But when they went on tour, he was the main guy. A bunch of Broadway stuff, and he was a crazy singer, choir director. So it was all this music it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And people would come to our church, our little church. I mean, that church was a storefront.
Yeah.
Not a storefront. It was a house converted into a church. A little tiny 2-bedroom house converted into a church.
Right.
On the corner.
Yeah.
And they would come, and that church would be rocking, man. It was crazy. I got videotape from 1984. I'm like, man, it's
Killing.
organ. They got synthesizers. My dad on the bass. It was crazy. It was
That's
crazy.
Nuts.
And and that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Right. And
Now, were you playing there?
I started playing the drums at 4 years old.
Okay.
So they would let me play, afternoon service. I would play for what they call devotional or testimony service, right? Or they let me play for offering.
Right.
Now in the storefront church or the smaller churches, the loudest thing in the church is the organ.
Yeah.
And so they would put me on the piano. Nobody can hear the piano because it wasn't mic back then or nothing. So you can play the piano all you want, nobody gonna hear that. So they let me just bang on it until I'm like 9, then I started really playing. I was I can really. Then I started playing. By the time I was 12, I was on the organ, and that's where it started. Because you just couldn't play. You couldn't be bad. You couldn't be terrible. You had to be able to really play.
You had to be good.
You're gonna get sat down. You're gonna get embarrassed. My uncle, my cousins, everybody played. All my family sang and played. So it was like, you better come with it. You ain't gonna embarrass us.
So then, when is your dad? He becomes a pastor at a certain point.
My dad became a pastor later. So he left that church and became an assistant pastor. This is the first time, you don't know this, probably don't remember this at all. The first time I seen you.
Okay.
Because Bishop Reed and my pastor at the time were really good friends.
Who's that? Who's your pastor at the time?
His name was Elder George Marcelli.
Okay.
At a little church called Greater Mount Calvary on 111th and Western, right? On the corner. So we were having an anniversary, and my dad is the assistant pastor there, and your dad at the time, I think, is the assistant pastor at First Church.
Yep.
They show up, Bishop Reed, your dad, and y'all brought a crowd with you, and y'all were early. And my dad is the one who opens the church, and he was late. We pull up, and they're all outside. Bishop Reed is outside the door. My dad is so embarrassed. He said, "Oh, my God, I'm so embarrassed." So we go and open the door, and, man, they have some crazy church. And I remember seeing you and Jordan. You was little.
Wait, so this might not be the same church, but I remember hearing a story that Bishop Reed, we went, and for those of you listening, this was my former pastor. The church I pastored church. This is the guy that pastored before my father pastored. We went to a church. The pastor came late, and so Bishop Reed started the service without them.
No.
That wasn't this church?
That wasn't this church. Because they couldn't get in.
Oh, okay.
They were standing outside. My dad
just
had the
waiting.
key. They was waiting. It was just embarrassing.
That's great.
But he went in there.
We're very timely people.
Oh, man. I was like, yo, this is crazy. But I remember that. I remember seeing all you guys.
Yeah.
I remember Bishop Reed preaching crazy for like only 10 minutes.
Yeah, he bring the house down.
In 10 minutes, it was done. I was like.
And he starts at 10, too. He don't like rev up.
No,
he starts at 10.
He started right there. And was just so that church was my dad's. He was there, and then he left there and started his church in '88.
Got it.
And that's when all the music stuff was on me. I was the sound engineer. We were a mobile church, so I had to bring the equipment in. I had a pickup truck. I was 16. I had to, put everything together, set everything up, and break it back down again. I would take the drummer to his house, get his stuff. It was all this, and I was in charge of everything.
I kind of feel like that level of responsibility maybe plays into your producing.
Huge.
Because you have to organize like this big idea, this musical idea, with a lot of competing complex parts.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So when you get out of, let's say, just playing in church, and you get into doing the R&B, the hip hop, that whole thing, what was that transition like? Was everyone comfortable? Like your family, were they comfortable with that? Was there some little hesitation? Like what was that evolution like?
So being that my father was a musician, before he was a pastor.
Got it.
He didn't necessarily get to gig and get into it because it was just, he was so engrossed in church and, he had to raise us, so he didn't really get to do it. I think he looked at it differently.
Yeah.
And because of the church that I came from, see,
right,
they were all doing R&B records.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I remember I met Mario Winans when I was, I don't even think he remembers this. I might have been 14, 15. he was out here playing drums for his mom. They came out here and did something, she was saying he was playing drums, and I was like, this dude is amazing. And I met him then, and he came back for something. I met him again somewhere else, and by that time he had done this record that I love on the group, this gospel group. I can't remember the name, but he produced it. Mm-hmm. But he was like talking about he doesn't do secular music. I ain't doing no secular music. I'm just saved. It's gospel. I was like, yeah, me too. Yeah, Mario. Yeah, man, I'm with you. You know.
Wait, did he end up doing secular music?
Absolutely. But I go home trying to impress my dad. I said, Dad, you know what? I ain't never doing no secular music. I said.
So how old are you at the time?
15.
Are you 15? Okay.
And that's the son. Sit down. Let me talk to you. He says, listen, you don't do construction like me. Mm-hmm. You don't type. You don't take dictation. You don't work at this. You don't work at that. Mm-hmm. Your job is music. It's your occupation. And I know the music you like. I listen. I hear what you're listening to. I don't like all that cursing because I was at the time NWA. Whew,
they owned it, man.
I was all about. It was a couple of things. People think my influences are certain things, but it's really a couple of things. It was the Commission,
okay,
and the Winans, and NWA. It's the only three things I loved.
The distance between those are so vast.
I wasn't even into R&B music. Like I hated anything. Luther Vandross, I didn't know what that was. Freddie Jackson and O'Brien, all these guys, I didn't know. I'm like, they can't sing like Marvin Winans.
Yeah, that's
or
true.
Commission.
That's true.
But these beats that I'm hearing, or Dr. Dre do, I was like,
yeah,
it's nothing like that. Yeah. So my sound is just kind of like a synthesis between those two things.
That's interesting. Do you think people listening to you pick that up, that it's a mixture of the Winans, Commission, and NW and Dr. Dre, I guess?
If you go back and just listen to like a song like Shanice had a song called When I Close My Eyes, right?
Love that song.
If you listen to the drums.
Dude, that song's dope.
Oh, thank you, man. But the chords is like very churchy.
Yeah.
But the beat,
yeah.
The kick has a. Now I'm just, I'm geeking out now.
Good, please.
So if you listen to old NWA records, there's always this round sounding kick, like a thump, dun, 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 dun. Mm-hmm. They used the 808 drum machine. The 808 drum machine had a clave sound, like the percussion instrument, the wood sticks, like tick, tick, tick.
Yep.
He would put that on the kick drum so to give the kick a knock, like a tick, tick, like a hard sound. Yeah. If you listen to When I Close My Eyes, I employ that same method that Dr. Dre used on NWA stuff.
Got it.
And the 808 cymbal, the the claps and stuff like that. It's the same. I'm using those sounds under all this pretty stuff. So it'll be like this pretty stuff on top. It'll be like, if you just take away the pretty stuff and listen to the drums, you'll be like,
it's just hardcore.
Yes. Always. Yeah.
That's dope. So it was just funny about hip hop, and someone actually had to teach me this, because I was like, and I'm talking about this is like 15 years ago. I'm like, why is it that hip hop artists are always using somebody else's stuff? And they were like, that's what hip hop is.
Yeah.
Like that's the bedrock of what hip hop is.
That's the artistry of hip hop. It's about taking anything that somebody else did, it's like what people who tailors. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? They don't create the fabric.
Right.
They take pieces of fabric and weave them together and make something.
Yep.
That's hip hop.
Yeah.
But back to my dad and doing secular.
Yeah.
So he's like, you don't do this, you don't do that. This is your job. This is your occupation. Mm-hmm. He says, so you go and do the music you love. He says, but you have to know that there is a standard.
Yeah.
You cannot let your occupation run all over your salvation.
Come on, preacher.
And that was like,
and that's all you needed.
My dad sent me out there. So it wasn't really like, nobody had, what they gonna say?
Yeah.
People had stuff to say, but they couldn't say that. You can't say it to me.
Right.
So I had the license. So I went out there, I didn't always make the mark, what I'm saying? Because I was doing all kind of stuff, especially, I don't think he wanted to send me off to work with Death Row. But it was the time of my life at Death Row, though. I will never forget that experience. It was, man, nothing like it. I've done a bunch of stuff, but nothing. I can't even say that working with Kanye, which is an amazing thing. It still wasn't the same.
What was it about Death Row?
It's the fact that, one, this polarizing figure, Suge Knight, and the guys around him, the Dre, the Snoop, Pac, Daz, they were like super friends, like, right? They were like, and all the crazy music that was happening, it was just real music. And then we would do a record on Friday. Monday, it would be in heavy rotation all over the world. It'd be crazy. It would be just, I didn't understand how that was happening. Like, how did they do that?
Yeah.
Later on, I found that, Suge Knight, he would walk songs to radio in himself. He wouldn't send his radio guys. He would go walk up to the radio station, and he's just this menacing guy.
Yeah.
Suge at the time had to like duck to come in the door and come in sideways because he was too wide to walk in straight. That's how big he was. But the nicest cat you ever want to meet.
I keep hearing that.
Really cool. Like, unless you crossed him,
Sure.
then that was that.
Sure.
But like, if y'all square biz,
Yep.
up and up, and he'll give you the shirt off his back.
So wait a minute. This is during the time when the West Coast East Coast beef is happening.
Right before.
This is right when you're there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Are you gone before the beef kicks off?
I'm there when it's happening, but I was there before it happened.
Oh, you were there before it happened.
Yeah.
So you living through all of that.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
That had to be nuts.
No, it was one of those things because I remember when Pac got out of jail and came to Death Row. So we were doing.
Wait, was he signed to Death, or you mean he was coming to be a part of Death Row?
To be a part of Death. So what?
Got it.
Pac was signed to Interscope Records.
Right.
When he did all the Keep Your Head Up and all that stuff, he goes to jail. Death Row's distributor is in Interscope Records. So essentially, if they get Pac, Interscope still has them. So it doesn't matter to them, right? Suge goes and pays the $1 million bill to get Pac out. Signs him to Death Row. We're in the studio. It's probably 2 a.m. And at the time, Suge had a stack of vinyl albums and asked us to recreate everything because he was tired because, the Chronic.
Legendary.
The Chronic was legendary, but it also was just plagued by lawsuits because all the samples didn't get cleared.
Whose job is that, dude?
I don't know whose job it was then, but, Dre sampled everything. But they didn't clear him. So this thing is making millions, so now everybody's suing him. So he got to pay all these lawsuits. So he's like, you know what? Can y'all just remake all these? Because I'm tired of like paying the sample stuff. So we're like, I'm like, I can make it sound just like this. I can make it sound. He's like, man, do it. So at that time, we were remaking Love and Happiness, Al Green.
Yeah.
I'm in the control room on a Fender Rhodes keyboard playing. In the live room is Kenny Crouch on organ, my man Derek Walker, we call him D-Loc.
Oh yeah, I remember him. Drummer.
And Cornelius Mims on bass. We're rocking Love and
like the Avengers, man, like the dopest musicians in LA or in the country.
It was crazy. Rest in peace. Daryl Crooks was on the guitar.
Yeah.
And so we're playing, and then like right here, the door opens. Pac walks in. Everything stops. We're like,
when you just in prison?
I'm home. I'm signed to Death Row. I want all y'all to come back tomorrow, and we're gonna start my album. I was like, what in the world? So we came back the next day. Now, he had a white, like not a hoodie, like a sweatshirt. It was too big, hair all over his head, like kind of beard. Like he looked like he just got out of jail.
What you did.
So I think they did the bail thing, put him on a plane, came straight to L.A., and that happened, right? The next day, I show up there. I'm walking in. I see a black drop-top Rolls Royce pull up, and it's loud music playing. It's Pac. Now he's got a Death Row chain on, hair shaved, Rolex watch, and a like the Tupac rapper
that
kid.
we see. Yep.
I'm like, yo. So what's up, man? We about to go. Let's go. We go in the studio and we commence to do 3 songs every day for the next till he died.
What?
Everywhere he went, he did 3 songs. He recorded 3 songs pretty much every day that I was with him. And so the first album was All Eyes on Me. You don't see my name on anything.
Wait, why is that?
So at the time, go back to my publishing deal with Big John.
Big John, yep.
At the time, Big John and I had just had a meeting.
Okay.
And he said he wanted to sign me.
Okay.
Cut to 2 weeks later, Suge says he wants to sign me and give me a publishing deal. Now, what happened is Big John wants to sign me and give me $60,000. I'm 20 at the time. No, I'm 19. I'm 19. We're going to give you 30 grand up front. This is 1994. I'm going to give you 30,000 up front, and we're going to give you 2,500 a month for the rest.
Yeah, for the balance.
I'm like, whoa. Okay. Now, a couple weeks later, Suge says, I want to sign your publishing. I was like, I already got a publishing deal. I ain't even signed a deal yet. So Suge wanted to sign my publishing and give me $10,000, which, that wasn't bad, actually.
Okay. But what Big John had offered you just...
Because Big John worked at EMI, this huge company that had a bigger checkbook.
Yeah.
So I said, I already got a publishing deal. He says, well, you can still come up here and play on the records and stuff, but I can't put your name on nothing because I got to have published on all everybody I get, get credit out of here. I was like...
So whose name you put on it?
Cool. So... Nobody.
Or just left you off?
Just left me off. Anything that you if you read the credits on Tupac's album, anything that says Johnny J, produced by Johnny J, who was the producer, he was doing all the beats and stuff like that. I'm playing like little parts and stuff on all those songs.
Got it.
But Johnny was producing. He was making Johnny. He passed away a while ago. He was an amazing producer. This dude was dope. And Pac trusted him a lot. He did 17 songs on that album. Yeah.
How many songs was on the album?
28. It was a double album.
Yeah. Good God.
So $5 million in a month. That's what I'm saying. It was just the ride was amazing. It was an amazing ride. But yeah, so my name is not on it, but that's me playing on a lot of that stuff. Even on the stuff that Quick did. He did a song called Hearts of Men. I'm playing on that, but my name's not on it, But I was able to get that publishing deal with Big John.
Yeah.
And help my parents buy this house that they live in right now.
So God be praised.
God be praised.
So going back just for a minute to just like the cornerstone of hip hop being this whole sample element, like you go back to the origins, they're scratching records, the people are rapping on top of it. You start looking at guys like Quick and Dre, and now they're actually making beats. Yeah. They're using technology. I mean, what was it like? You're a part of that. You're part of that era where now you're creating. It's not just scratching a record. Now it's when that gets introduced, two questions. One, does that feel to the hip hop community like it's inauthentic? Or does it feel like it's the appropriate next iteration? And the next question is, what was the inspiration for now trying to utilizing this new tech relative to music?
So I guess we got to go back a little bit. Yep. Start of hip hop, early 70s, Bronx. My father's there. He's in high school there. Came from the breaks of the records. Yep. Right? Yeah. So you would have two turntables and find where the singing dropped out and just loop it back and forth, and the guy would, Then and that sounded very like musical. It was like R&B, but with rapping on top of it. Which was cool, but it wasn't necessarily hip-hop. Here comes Rick Rubin, the white guy that goes to NYU, and he's like, no, let's make some hard beats. It was just, if you listen to some of those early, I'm the king of rock, there is none high, stuff like that, or LL Cool J, or Beastie Boys, it was just hard drums. It was no, music. Yeah. It was just, and so that became, the sound, because we wanted to get away from that smooth stuff, right? Then they start sampling records. That's because we didn't have any samplers. We were sampling little pieces, and then guys would play on top of it. Okay. Right? They would call somebody to play guitar on top of it. Okay. And come later, here comes guys like me who can play. Yep. Right? Yep. And so a lot of times they didn't have guys that can really play on those early records. They had guys that can play a little bit, but we coming from church. Yeah. And I'm bringing this real
big sounds, big chords, the whole nine.
They would make fun of me because I would have a hat on. I'd be like, I throw my hat. They would love to see me throw my hat. Right. And I would do it all the time because I was into it, and putting that feeling on a hip hop record. Then it went from that to go you know what? Let's remake the song. Yeah. Instead of sampling it, let's take the bass line and I'll do the drums over here, and we just kind of, do it that way. until I want to say a lot of Quick, his later stuff, and then you got to give credit to guys like The Roots, guys like Tribe, who did sample a lot, but a lot of like original stuff as well.
Are The Roots the first band, hip hop band? Was anybody before them that was doing that full kind of band thing?
I think they are the first band in hip hop.
Okay.
I believe they are, because I can't
Think of
nobody.
anybody,
No.
yeah.
And they were playing, made up grooves that they created.
Yep.
It wasn't based off of a Rick James song or based off of a
Right.
Jackson song. A lot of
Right.
stuff we were doing was based off of another song.
Yeah.
So that idea of just starting from scratch came from guys like The Roots and stuff like that. And then when we started doing the records, when I started producing records, I started doing something different. I started making my own samples. So I said, you know what? If they're sampling these records, and I remember just going back, doing all those records over for Quick, for me, for Suge. I'll just create some stuff. This and shout out to Kanye for being, good about just being innovative.
Yeah.
I make a sample in my garage. I've got drums on it and stuff, got horn players on it. Play it for Kanye. He's like, yo, this is dope. But what I did was, when he hears it, it's a full beat. But I got drums on it and everything that I've sampled myself and made a beat on top of it.
Yeah.
He's like, this is dope. Who's the sample? I'm like, no, I made that sample. Oh, this is crazy. So that turns out to be a song called We Major on Kanye's Late Registration album featuring Nas.
Oh, that's you.
That's me, yeah. Yeah. And so then the next album is Graduation. I did the same thing again. I go to my mom's house, go in the garage, play this piano part, and I get guys in there whistling and clapping, and I make a sample out of it. That becomes Kanye's song Homecoming. And it's like, that was a single off the Graduation album.
Yes.
So we started making our own samples. So now I don't really sample anymore. I make my own.
What was the inspiration? So real talk. So what you're saying right now is the freaking premise of this podcast.
Yeah.
Is the individuals who step into something that's already in progress and then just innovate, like something that's not been done before. And my curiosity is always, what's the impetus? Like, what is it in your mind that says there's something else? Like, what I'm doing is dope, there's something else that then begins to lead to like a whole new aspect or even a whole new genre. Like, what puts you in that position to do that?
Money.
Makes sense.
If it don't make dollars,
It don't make sense.
don't make sense. So
Because you don't have to now pay anybody or clear anything.
and you're at the mercy
Right.
of whoever you sampled.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I can sample a so-and-so record, and it's up to them to say, well, I want 100%. So what happened was, Mary Mary, on their first album, we did a James Cleveland record, because I remember I wanted to pay homage to James Cleveland.
Sure.
And we remade his song, No Ways Tired. I don't feel no ways tired, but we said,
Killer.
I just can't give up
Yep,
now.
yep.
That song doesn't have verses. They just sing that, I don't feel no ways tired, over and over again. He talks a little bit, they sing, they talk, they sing. We created verses, bridge, all that stuff. So we're going to the person that wrote it, who I think at the time, James Cleveland, they didn't make a lot of money because James was like, I'm taking the publishing, right? They wanted 100%. So that, as big as that song is, we don't get the publishing. 100% that guy. I forgot his name now.
Even though you pretty much wrote the verses.
Wrote the verses, wrote the
It's a whole
bridge.
different song, really. I mean, it has the same chord progression and melodic progression, but
It's a whole different song.
all of it.
But we're at their mercy.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? And same thing with sampling. I'm like, you know what? I can't do that no more. I'm leaving a lot of money on the table.
Yeah.
If I create this sample and not only create it, use it
Yeah.
like a sample,
Yeah.
then once it's popular, ship it off and say, hey, producer friend, you do something to it. You do something to it.
Yep.
And turn it into a copyright now.
Yep. Yeah.
Then maybe I can get something going.
That's good. That makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you bring up Mary Mary. I know everybody who's listening knows, first of all, who Warryn Campbell is, and knows, of course, his wife is one half of the incredible group, Mary, Erica, and Tina, both named Campbell, oddly enough. They were, they both married Campbells.
Yeah.
Tina married
Teddy,
and Erica married Jew. So this is my limited, this is just one guy. I feel like when Kirk Franklin did Stomp, which was like mid-late 90s, that was revolutionary. I mean, minds were blown because I think it was the deep, and Kirk's been in the game since the 80s, but he'd done a lot of stuff, but that seemingly was like a moment, I think, in musical history where you saw something shift. And then Shackles came out in 2000. And when I tell you, it lit the work.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't think of us, and I'm sure there are, I'm not a musical historian, I'm sure there are other songs that have done this, but in the last, if that's 2000, the last couple of decades, I don't know a more transformative piece of work when it comes to gospel, really in any genre. It just changed the game and opened up a world where I think the people that we're experiencing now, who are dope artists, they have to point back and pay homage to the seal you all broke. You all broke a seal where that could be played in the club. That could be played, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was at backyard barbecues. That was at the family reunion. It wasn't like a church song. What's the inspiration for Shackles? Did you see it as that? Did you know you had that when y'all did Shackles? And do you appreciate what it's done for music?
So you mentioned Kirk's song Stomp. So I had this thing, sort of, I would say a pet peeve.
Okay.
I will watch as every other genre of music would be just kind of forging ahead. I would watch as gospel would always be like seemingly 10 years behind, 15 years behind.
Yeah.
So when Stomp came out and all the church people was going crazy, like, oh, that's crazy, I was a little upset. Not upset, but I just was kind of like, he sampled One Nation Under the Groove, which was a Parliament joint, right?
Yep.
Funkadelic. Dre and those guys did that already in '92.
Got you.
Like the hip hop, the West Coast hip hop sound was all that. It's like we done with that. Like so, and it was a great record.
Sure.
I'm going like, man, why did the church so late? Why we gotta be always late? I'm like, I'm not gonna do what happened already. I'm like, I'm the guy. And another thing from my coach, Big John, he said, yo, when everybody go right, you go left.
Right,
go left.
Right.
So everybody's, on that bandwagon. I'm like, I can't do that.
Yep.
I got to go somewhere else. At the time, I was listening to a whole lot of Nile Rodgers and Chic. Oh, it was one of my, there was this guy named Focus, who's a producer now. He's produces with Dre. Okay. His father was in that band Chic. His name was Bernard Edwards. He was the bass player. Okay. Some of the coldest grooves you ever want to hear. I would listen to that a lot. And that was a very big inspiration to just how the groove laid, you know what I mean? And so what happened was we were writing for an up-and-coming film called The Prince of Egypt. It was animation.
So who's we? You and who?
Me, Eric, and Tina.
Oh, okay.
We were set to do a duet with a guy named Ty Tribbett, who we didn't know. Ty hadn't been out yet.
Okay.
He didn't even have a record deal yet, but the guys that were over the soundtrack were trying to sign Ty and said, you guys should do the song together. And they were trying to sign Mary at the same time. Those guys are named Buster and Shivani. Two of my, Buster was like, my guy. He's like a mentor to me. Like I looked up to him big time. And I was like, okay, we got to write this song.
So Mary is a group at this point?
They're not even Mary yet. They're Eric and Tina. They don't have a name.
From Inglewood, by the way. Shout out to Big Inglewood. I know y'all don't want to do it. Go ahead. Inglewood, shout out Eric and Tina. All right, come on. Up to no good, Inglewood.
I'm from Watts, though. Thank you.
Listen, God be praised, man.
Born and raised in Watts. Born in Watts, raised in South Central.
I'll take it.
God be praised. Shout out to Charles Jenkins. He has a new song called God Be Praised.
Okay, we'll take that too. Charles Jenkins.
So we're writing stuff, and all of it's kind of, not cool. And I had been up for 2 days in my little studio. I'm kind of funky at this time. I'm like, I need to go take a shower. Y'all write to this, and there was I had like a drum beat and a bass line playing. I'll be right back. So the music is loud now through the walls. If you are listening to something in here, when you walk out, sometimes the tones change. It sounds different.
Mm-hmm.
So through the studio room, it wasn't a padded room, but it was just a little office where I had my stuff at. I go through another little room where I had a little pool table. This was in my parents' house in the basement. And then to the bathroom. Through those walls, I can still hear the music, but it sounds different. I'm in the shower, and I'm hearing, the bass wasn't playing this, but I'm hearing do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. I'm like, oh. I start singing, take the shackles off my feet so I could dance. Take the shackles. I'm singing that.
Right.
And I said, oh, that's dope. Like, don't forget it. I finished the shower. I still got the towel on. I run in there. I'm like, stop. I stopped the music. I was like, this is it. Take the shackles off my feet so I. They were like, that's dope. I put the beat back on. I played the bass line that I was hearing because it wasn't the same. I play that, then I go back, finish getting dressed. And when I come back, they already had the first verse. In the corners of my mind, I just
can't seem to find.
And that was, I was
believe.
like, this is it. And it was simple. I mean, that's how the record started. I was like, can't give this to Prince of Egypt though.
No, sir.
No. This is something. Y'all got to do this. Now, before that, we had a record called Dance, Dance, Dance that we did on the Dr. Dolittle soundtrack that Big John made me give up because it was supposed to be Eric and Tina's first single.
Okay.
I'm rapping on the song and everything. Ray J wrote me a rap.
Really?
For the record. Ray J is probably 14, but he could write at the time.
Okay.
He wrote this rap, dance. Everybody down with us, just dance. Wanna feel the groove and clap your hands. To ask who's blessed tonight, I am. God's been good to me, never to be too late and continuously. He's great, he's on time, even never have to sit.
Hey.
It was like a little Mace sounding like Bad Boy, you know.
Yeah.
It sounded like a Bad Boy record.
Okay.
So Big John was like, they want this record for Dr. Dolittle, but they want to use this girl named, this lady named Robin S. to sing it. She's a dance star, dance music star. But they'll let the girl stay on it. I was like, that's their first single. He said, no, man, you wrote that song, write another one. You wrote it, just write another one, write a better one. So we gave him the song, and we wrote Shackles right after that. If he didn't make us give that song away, we'd never write Shackles.
You never do Shackles.
So, and Shackles was like, nah, we can't get this to Prince of Egypt. So we wrote them another song called Let Go, Let God, and Let Go. And it's just Mary Mary and Ty Tribbett. Okay. I don't even remember that one right now, but I mean, that's how that song started. But it's not lost on me what that song did.
Yeah.
No.
Did you know what you had?
I definitely knew. You knew by the response. Because anybody I played it for looked at me like I was an alien. To this day, us three, me, Eric, and Tina, it's just like, this is a song we wrote. We don't. It's not this big. Oh, really? We wrote it. Oh my God! No, it's just like it was nice. It's cool,
bro.
It's fun.
That's gonna be in the history books. I really believe it,
man. My man hit me last night. Green, Travis Green hit me last night. He was on the plane. Virgin Airlines. He was like, man, this plane. He's hit me on my DMs with a little video of it. They're playing it on the plane in the speakers. Then DJ Camper, my man, hit me. He was like in London. They were playing it in the car in London. I was like, I mean, that album just went platinum again. 4 months ago.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah.
That's nuts. So let me take a quick step back, because you mentioned, which I think you're so right, about not just gospel music, but the church in general. You know, we're just slow. We're just late to the party in a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
But there have been evolutions, right? So I've had this debate about who have been some of the most significant kind of voices in the movement of gospel music. And so, of course, we know, Thomas Dorsey is like the godfather.
Yeah, he's a guy.
Right? He gets the party started. But there's a debate, and maybe, I'm not sure if it's a debate. I think it's a debate. When it comes to, and I'm talking about just the body of work, I'm not just talking about the how well they did, how impactful their music was, but as far as the change, the shift in music. When you look at a guy like James Cleveland, you mentioned him earlier, look at a guy like Kirk Franklin, who do you think had the most impact as far as moving music forward for it to take whatever its next steps were, you know, in like, let's say American culture? And why?
Sound-wise,
Okay.
that would be Kirk. Sound-wise.
Okay.
But in terms of eyeballs and people paying attention, it's James Cleveland. Hands down. Hands down.
He put it on the map.
He produced Aretha Franklin's Amazing Grace.
Bro, I watched the documentary, dude. And like the Rolling Stones is in the building, like everybody's there.
And everybody knows who he is.
Yeah.
You see what he's doing in there.
Yeah. He's in
the
control.
public.
Yes.
Aretha's doing whatever he says.
Whatever he says.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
arranging everything. And not only that, he could play. He was nice.
Yeah.
So the sound, when he was doing the sound of gospel music didn't
Yeah.
change much other
Yeah.
than he added certain elements that weren't there before. Like, you know, he brought in a bass player and a drummer.
Got you.
A lot of times when you listen to old gospel records, it's an organ and piano player and nothing else. But he brought in another thing, you know, and he did so much of it. His productivity, James Cleveland, at one time, probably had more albums out than anybody, any genre. Like, because you had all these, case in point, James Cleveland for a week would go to, say, like New Jersey, teach classes for a whole week on choir, on songwriting, and have songwriters come from all over, bring songs, teach songs, and at the end of that week, they would do a recording.
At the end of a single week, they'd record an album.
They record all the stuff they learned, and it would come out maybe a month after that. James Cleveland presents the New Jersey chapter of the Gospel Music Workshop of America, right?
Yeah.
He did that probably 100 times.
Yeah.
James Cleveland Presents is everywhere, right? And it's all like songs in, you know, they came out on Savoy Records, came out on Malaco Records, maybe one other album, one other record label. But his volume of work, his body of work is vast, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But then Kirk, he took chances.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think, maybe it was because he wasn't a singer.
You're right.
That he could focus on other elements and other sides of it. He was focused on, like, you know, think about the merging of a hip hop artist with the gospel artist.
Yeah.
He brings in Salt from Salt and Pepper.
Yep.
And she raps and does a great job on that.
That was God's Property? Was that the album?
God's Property, yeah.
Yeah.
He brings in, with Kirk Franklin and the Family, he does a record with R. Kelly at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He does a record with Mary J. Blige on it. You know, just he was doing stuff. And then he goes on, now go commercially, the tour.
Yeah.
Like James Cleveland wasn't able to do arenas, tours.
Yeah.
He did arenas, like one-offs here and there, but like touring, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't like, this guy was filling up stadiums.
Yeah.
And stuff like, arenas. James Cleveland did theaters, but arenas?
Yeah.
And it was the Kirk Franklin tour. Like, you know, I think they did something called the Tour of Hope or Tour of Life or Hopeville or something like that. I think it was called Hopeville.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
But he did all these different tours, man. It was huge. He would bring out Jan Adams or bring Donnie McClurkin, I think maybe Fred, and it would be the Kirk Franklin thing, you know. Yeah. And commercially, he just set it off in a different way. Like, think about this, how rappers would go on tour and fly there and ship their Range Rovers on tour with them so they can drive around in their own car. Kirk Franklin was doing that. Kirk had his Range Rover shipped. This is the 90s. I'm backstage going like, oh, it's Kirk's car. This dude had all kind of stuff on tour with him.
Really?
Yeah, man, he was doing it just on a high level, and all the songs he wrote.
Right. He's a prolific writer.
Hands down.
Prolific writer.
One of the best. One of the best. So I would say in terms of, you know, commercially and moving the sound differently, being more accepted, I'm going to give that partially to Kirk. Yeah. But I'm also throwing Uncle Andre Crouch.
I was going to ask you about him.
Because you cannot talk that conversation. Yeah. Andre Crouch is the first gospel artist to perform on Saturday Night Live.
That's nuts.
The first gospel artist to commercially, he was on the Jeffersons.
Was he?
The TV show. He was featured on the Jeffersons singing. I mean, this guy, Color Purple, the movie.
Yeah.
That's him writing, playing. And Michael Jackson's Bad album, Man in the Mirror, that's Andre Crouch
Andre
arranging.
Crouch is on that?
He's arranging all the background vocals and doing
Really?
Andre Crouch.
So I think about Andre Crouch similar to, maybe not the same degree, the Staples singers.
Yeah.
I feel like they commercially crossed over.
But they weren't gospel, really.
They weren't. Okay, you're educating me.
Their dad,
Pop Stable wasn't gospel.
They started doing gospel stuff. They were like in the middle. They were political.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Respect yourself. That's the kind of song they were saying.
Yeah, okay.
A couple gospel tunes here, but they sung, I know what place, I'll take you there.
Yeah.
They never said it was heaven, or they weren't talking about church. They kept it real.
Got you.
Kept it real BB and CC.
I think it's... What's funny, though...
Shout out Uncle BB.
I was about to say, what's funny, though, is that, you all, Mary, BB and CC, kind of got the same critique about not putting Jesus' name in your music as gospel artists.
I was very intentional on not using technical theological terms in the songs.
Yeah. And what was the impetus behind, like, what were you thinking?
The reason was Big John. Again, I'm writing this song called The Anointing. Mm-hmm. He was like, he came in, listened, he was like, yo, that's dope. What's that? I said, what's what? The Anointing. What's that? It's like Goosebumps or something? I was like, nah, that's a shoot. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't say anything that people won't understand.
Yep.
And shout out to my sister Kim Burrell. She helped me really solidify that. She had a song talking about, the peace and Joel, about, the cankerworm, the palmer worm, blah, blah, blah. And she said, God's going to give you back everything that the locust stole on the record. And I remember hearing it going, I know what that means. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, somebody who doesn't know God, doesn't know Christ, doesn't understand, they will have no idea what that is.
No context for that, yeah.
So I made a decision, say, if it was too heavy in that way, I was like, no, just write stories like country and western people do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you just couldn't fit the word Jesus in. It just made, so we'll do Jesus on the ad lib. We're gonna say it.
Yeah.
But in the context of the lyrics, it doesn't fit here.
Yeah.
But you're gonna know it's a gospel song at the end of it. So that's how that, worked out. I just wanted people I wanted the music to be accessible to anybody that heard it. You're gonna know it's gospel, but I want you to understand what we're talking about, what we're trying to say, without all of the things we do in liturgies. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't get that.
It doesn't connect.
No.
It doesn't connect. That makes a lot of sense. So when you think about, so I got kids, and I don't know what my kids listen to. I'm a terrible dad. I have no idea. We'll be in the car. You know what's so funny? I was doing this the other day. I was like, we live in a context now of personalize everything.
Everything, yeah.
So I'm driving the car. When I was a kid in the car, I drove with my parents in the car. I'm in the back seat. I know every song because I listen to what they listen to.
What they listen to, yeah.
So Coast 103.5, all that. I know all the songs. I'll be in the mall. I'm singing James Taylor. I'm singing, because that's what I listen to. I get in the car with my kids. They all have headphones in.
Yeah.
And all of them listen to their own thing, right? But I think about hip hop because, of course, it's big with that generation. And I don't understand a lot know right now. Like, I don't understand. First of all, somebody explained to me what mumble music was. I couldn't understand what was being said. I don't understand the concept. But it seems as though it's connecting with the generation on some level. Then I hear a lot of the ire from older hip hop artists talking about this next generation. There's so much consternation on some level. Now, I'm making an assumption. When it comes to the evolution of anything, is it possible that some iterations just aren't good ones? And if that is true, relative to the evolution of a thing, particularly in music, what becomes the recourse from people who are in the industry to say, like, however this thing came, and I'm not trying to diss mumble music, I'm just saying I don't like it. But and I'm nobody. But whatever the genre is and whatever the iteration is, in creativity, it's like, it's relative. But is it? Like, is creativity absolutely relative, or are there some things that are like, that's an aberration that seems to be maybe counterproductive, and we need to save the music? Is that making sense?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Some things you kill, some things you got to just let die, right? So you can't, here's the first thing. As African Americans, the opportunity to make money and pull ourselves out of these ghettos, right?
Yeah.
Is 1 in a million chance.
Sure.
So you see a guy who is doing some subpar music.
Sure.
My first inclination is to criticize it, but then I got to go, does this guy have a shot other than this to get out of that?
Makes sense.
So I go, okay, it may not be the mess. Mumble rap killed itself. It's not even relevant right now. Because, it really started because this generation, my generation of hip-hop people, heads, we made music for drug dealers. That's the culture, like balling, drug dealing, and
Yep.
This generation makes music for drug users.
Whoa.
See what I'm saying? Everything's emo, mumble.
Wow.
Lean, slow down. It's a different.
Yeah.
We was like, pour the champagne.
Yeah.
Rollies on my wrist.
Right. Ballers. It was party. It was money. Yeah.
They're like, I'm in the backseat of the car. I can't feel my face. You know what I'm saying? It's different.
Yes, dude.
So, I think when I said some things you just got to let die, with that, I think at this point it's starting to die because now, especially after the pandemic, people are just happy to be alive.
Yeah.
And they're feeling like vibrant now. It's kind of like it's changing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be sad.
Yeah.
I don't want to be depressed. I want to, and you having all these conversations, on all kind of different platforms, podcasts, all kind of different things about depression.
Yep.
And trauma, and we're talking about it, and we don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we just some things we just don't want to hear anymore.
Yeah.
So I think instead of just, a lot of my contemporaries, they just bash the stuff. I'm like, man, let them kids do what they did do, because guess what? They was bashing us.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah.
Like, what are y'all talking about? All that fast. What are y'all? Skippity, how did skippity do?
Skippity bippity.
My wife's grandmother said, y'all music ain't music. Y'all just say, you got long tail, you got long tail, you got long tail.
Oh, that's good. I want to write that down. We're collecting words on this podcast. The new one is skippity bippity. That's going to be a brand new word we put into the rotation here on Misfit Manifesto.
Speaking of that, you know how Kanye said, scoop diddy. He was doing that.
Yep.
I didn't know where that came from. Last time I saw him, he was saying, I'm just going to keep saying it until people start getting tattoos on it. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I'm just going to keep saying it.
Dude, I felt that. I felt like when he did it, he was almost like making a point about the culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He does things like that. Like this last little thing he's been in.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me something 2 days ago, a video of him talking. Mm-hmm. He says, that was the last time you ever see a $1 billion deal and a guy be let go over a tweet. And he said, gotcha.
Right.
Then I get a text from him a couple days ago that says, they tried to cancel me, but I'm free.
Wow.
I said, oh my God, this dude is a genius. Because he was locked in all these deals.
Yeah.
So I'll just start saying wild stuff. They're going to let me go out of everything. They're going to, we're going to cancel this deal. He was like, he said, gotcha. Then he said, I like to thank everybody involved in these negotiations. I'm free now. He's back making music, doing what he's doing.
So speaking of that, dude, you did music with Kanye, and I really want to talk about Kanye musically, right? But on the other side, you were at least one of the people that in the early days was a influential part of him navigating his new faith. I feel like was he checking in with you, or like, were you
in a sense, like okay. So I remember getting the call. He was getting ready to do Coachella.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't call that checking in, but he wanted me to hear what he was doing. So me and my wife drove down there, and we spent some time with him down there. And then he gave me the list of songs that he was doing, asked me to give him scripture references for each song. So it would be stuff like that. On Donda, this last album, it was how do I make this gospel? So he'll rap a regular verse with cursing in it and everything. Like, how can we make this gospel? And I would give him, so like, say he was talking about, it was a song about prostitution. He was like, I forgot the context of what he was saying. And I told him that there was a prostitute named Rahab. And so he says, we came up with this line about, we didn't use it, about Lord forgive me for all the Rahabs with the Arabs in Dubai, where they do buy. So I'd come up with a line like that. He'd be like, yeah, I like that line, Or like, say like, he's going to, guess who's going to jail tonight? I'm going to jail. How do I make that gospel? I'm going to jail. I said, you got to say, God's going to post my bail tonight. That's it. And that's how I end up on the jail song.
Got it.
Just that, that's like the influence. It's not like he's calling me to check in and say, well, I do remember at one point, and me and you could talk about this, I don't know if everybody will know this, but he was being heavily recruited by the cessationists. And he was at my church early. My church starts at 11, 9 a.m. He was in my office. I walked in my office, he was laying on the floor, like sleep. He got up, he was like, what do you think about these casting out demons and stuff like that? I was like, and spitting the works of the Holy Ghost. And then so we
You apostolic, man. So you know all about that.
Oh, yeah. So we have a conversation about stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, it's like, so little stuff like that, but I wouldn't, because the Rolling Stone did an interview with me, and the headline was, he's Kanye's, spiritual advisor. I was like, oh my God. So I had to tell him, like, I ain't tell him to say that. I don't know what he don't, but he doesn't care anyway. So.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call myself that, but like, there are times where we have conversations about, little things like that. But I'm glad to be able to share whatever I know.
Yeah.
He's very receptive. He's very serious about his faith.
Seems like it.
Oh man, yeah. It's not a game with him.
Yeah,
it's not a game with him at all.
Man. So musically, I feel like he represents a lot of, in a lot of ways, but musically, he's really after what's next.
Always.
Constantly.
Do not come in the room and give him what he did before.
Right.
You get kicked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to when you think about guys like Kanye, and I'm sure there are others, who's in that camp, like, of really trying to create the next sound? Like, you're talking about creating music for the metaverse. Like, I'm still, I don't know what you said when you said that. Like, literally, I don't get it. Like, you like, man, I sped it up and slowed it down. Nigga, I turned it around, put it in the box, man. Made it underwater, put it on top, man. I turned around, flipped it, man. It's like a jelly bean. Like, what? What are you talking about, dude?
And I'll play it for you later.
Please, let me hear it. But like, you're creating music for the metaverse. Like, Kanye, for me, is someone who's like looking at what's next. He's innovating, purposefully disrupting, purposefully saying, let's trash what even is good, for the purpose of going forward. Who else is thinking like that? And then tell me, like, what is that like, and what is that gonna look like for you?
Yeah.
What's next? Like, what's next in music? Who's doing it, and what is it?
I think what's next is going to come from, it's not going to come from me. I may be able to recognize it in the person it comes from, but it's going to come from, like my son.
Nice. Is he in the music?
Oh yeah, he's into it.
Dope.
I had to go get my wife the other day. I said, you got to watch this. We walked down the hall. He's had the headphones on in front of the computer, just making beats.
I love it.
It's going to come from those guys. They think differently. Like, I thought differently than my father thought in terms of music. And I don't think there is, because of curiosity, as long as you have it, you can create, you know what I mean? But in terms of, like, just because there's so much historical baggage that you carry creatively, certain things you just can't get to creatively because you got all this other stuff that you already know, and I can't play it that way because your mind won't let you.
Yeah.
Younger people, they don't have any of that. They they just break the rules.
Yeah.
I know the rules.
Yep.
It's hard to break them. I know them. They have no clue what that is.
Yeah.
So creatively, they're just doing stuff. Like Michael Jackson was, when you hear don't stop till you get enough, they were beating on bottles. They were just doing stuff. Where a percussion player was like, oh, that's not, I got a proper, let me get the proper instrument.
Right.
And, you know, part of me is still that guy.
Yeah.
You know, I try not to grow up so much. You know, I try to be a guy who's just, you know, like a Toys R Us kid.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to grow up. I'm always going to be playing. I'm always going to be trying new things. But I think the younger generation is just going to, and I don't know what it's going to sound like. I don't know if it's going to be a new genre of music. You know, like, you know, when hip hop came, it was like, you know, it was crazy. But at this point, it's like we've had enough almost. Like Ye said to me one time the other day, he was like, yo, they ought to start spelling hip hop with 4 letters. WRAP. Because it's a rap. But who knows? It may be you know, a combination between the singing and the rapping. It may be, who knows? It may be preaching. May be the next rapping.
Yeah,
you know, who knows? You just don't know what it's going to be, but you have to recognize when something's good.
Yeah,
a guy like a Quincy Jones or a Rick Rubin or Uncle Rush.
Yeah,
Russell Simmons goes.
Yep.
He's at the time. He's he's older. He's like, oh, I know that this is the poets, Def Poetry Jam, Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the new thing.
Yeah.
You just got to be able to recognize it. That's how you become a person that's always a part or in the center of things, because you're not cut off creatively. Like, you just got to let the young people go.
Yeah.
Let them do what they're gonna do and support them. Give them money.
Yeah.
Fund them. Like be a part of it.
Yep.
And because who knows? We don't. You know, if I knew that, I might not be sitting here.
I'm about to say, or I'll be somewhere on the plane with you doing this. You know, what I mean?
We'd be on my plane talking about, like, you know, on one of my planes.
One of your many.
Yeah.
I just feel like when you name some heavy hitters, Russ, you name Quincy Jones. You know, I'm always curious, when did we know Quincy Jones was Quincy Jones? You know what I mean? At what point did we say, oh, no, that's the dude that's going to revolutionize this thing?
I knew it.
Okay.
I'm a Quincy guy.
So when did we know, when did you know Quincy is Quincy?
In 1978.
Okay.
In 78, The Wiz came out.
That's major.
You weren't born.
I wasn't.
I was 2 or something, or 3.
Right.
When I saw The Wiz, it came on TV. And they were doing this thing where they kept changing the colors. You don't want to be seen. Green. Now the color's red, and the whole scene would change, and the clothes would change, and it was gold, and they got to the gold part, and this disco song comes on. Go, go, do, 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 do. And it was this gigantic piano, and this dude with an afro, with glitter in the afro, turned around and smiled like it was Quincy Jones. I was like, ooh.
Oh, that's him?
That's Quincy Jones.
Does everybody know that?
They may not. It's Quincy did
That's
the
Quincy
soundtrack.
Jones playing on it?
He scored the movie. Yeah.
I mean, I knew he did the film, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I didn't know that was him actually playing that piano.
That's him.
That's a big scene, too.
It's a huge scene.
Big dance. They're like, big dance numbers.
Man, I was like, yeah, him.
That's the dude.
I want to be that guy. I don't even know who he is.
And you like...
Later, I find out this Quincy Jones, and I start seeing his credits.
Yeah.
It wasn't just his name.
Yeah.
He had a logo. He would make people, it was like a big logo, Quincy Jones Productions. On all the albums he worked on, it was a logo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, Quincy Jones. But that album had so much on it, man. First of all, he's producing Michael Jackson on it.
Right.
This is the precursor
to
him working with Michael to do Off the Wall and Thriller. Diana Ross.
Yep.
The Brothers Johnson. Louis Johnson's playing bass on that. A guy that just passed away named Toots Stadelman, who's the harmonica player and guitar player.
Okay.
But if you listen to that, the soundtrack, you hear all this harmonica playing, that's Toots, which is Stevie Wonder's favorite harmonica player. All these things are going on. Quincy's orchestrating the whole thing. It's the most beautiful orchestration you ever want to hear. And I'm like, man, at that point, I'm like, that dude is the man.
Yeah.
He's it. He's it. And still to this day, when you listen to Quincy Jones Productions, it's like there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, yeah. So then, is a Kendrick Lamar one of those standout dudes that's special? Like, who are the special? I think Kanye is special. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Special.
Kendrick, I think he's special.
Their AI being Allen Iverson
Okay.
with rings.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
AI
yeah.
was special.
Yeah.
But he was also, he wasn't able to convert
Yep.
and get that ring.
Yeah.
Like these guys are special, but they also they get commercially
Yep.
they get it. So like I remember first meeting Kendrick. Somebody brought him to my studio. A friend of mine that I grew up, his little brother is Kendrick's partner.
Okay.
Shout out to Dave Free. And to come to the studio, he had just did I think he did like a battle, not a battle, the BET Cypher,
Okay.
Hip Hop Awards, something like that. Maybe that's what it was. They brought him over to my studio. We worked on a couple of records. And I'm like, this kid is crazy. I'm listening to him. I still have those records right now. We never even finished them.
Really?
It's just stuff we started, but there's somewhere on hard drives. Man, nuts. I knew it. Like he's.
You knew he was gonna pop.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah. Immediately.
Yeah. I think for me, man, I'm always curious about being able to kind of, for lack of a better term, read the tea leaves to see, where is the energy for innovation? Where are the people who are, it seemed like Big John was always like after what was next. Don't rest on your laurels. Don't get saddled with success, but continue to create. And there's this theory when it comes to leadership. In fact, there's a book called Leadership on the Line, and it talks about being purposefully disruptive. Like sometimes we don't disrupt until something has gone wrong, but it takes a different level of leadership for things to be going well, and you say, all right, let's trash it and let's start doing something next. What's next? And I'm always curious, like when it comes to music, especially for like black music, what I mean? Because I feel like we have just been pioneering in so many ways. Rock and roll, rhythm and blues,
Everything.
you name it.
Everything.
We're pioneers in that. I mean, go all the way back to classical music with, Chopin and just, what I'm saying? But with that, I'm always curious, how do we get a sense? And maybe it's just that we just appreciate it. Maybe we just sit back and when it emerges, we just appreciate it, but I'm always curious about how do we engineer the innovation?
Yeah.
How do we create the spaces for people? This is a question for you. Where is a space developed to be able to create, what I'm saying, a place for that next cadre of people who can not be saddled with the rules, but can dream a new dream? Like, how do we not just wait for that to happen serendipitously, but we start to facilitate that kind of environment to produce that type of thinking?
I don't know, because I don't think it has ever been cognitively facilitated.
Got it.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think those things happen.
Got you.
Quincy Jones says, leave ego outside the room and just go in there and create and leave room for God to come into the room. Because that's what if you think about it, the biggest, most innovative thing that I didn't see it, but I read it, and in my mind I saw it, was in Genesis. Think about that as a show. A guy says, let there be light, and bam, the sun?
Yeah.
You know how bright the sun is?
Yeah.
The sun comes up, and it's so powerful, it just keeps, he said it once, and it just keeps coming up. It just keeps happening. Stars, planets, things. It looks like, in my mind, it looks like this big, it looks like Captain EO. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my mind, that's what it is. And I think, if we just leave room for God to come into the room, like he's the creator. And as long as we're creative, we're being like him. So I'm like, I don't know, man. I think you just got to be aware when you're in the environment.
When you're in it.
Like, oh man, this is, I've been in that so many times where I'm like in something, and I'm like, uh-oh.
We here. We're here now.
Just don't nobody move. Don't say nothing. Don't move. Just keep. And that's how songs happen. That's how movie ideas happen. Like case in point. and I could tell you this here. So everybody's had a crazy dream.
Right.
Like a dream, like I don't normally remember my dreams, but like the crazy ones, I'm talking about them dreams where you're running and then all of a sudden you're sitting on top of a roof, then all of a sudden you're talking to the president of the United States about you're having Cheerios, right? So my wife woke up one day and told me this crazy dream she had. It was hilarious. I said, and this is, and I don't know, we just waking up. I said, oh, we got something. We need to, let's write that down. Wrote it down. We need to shoot it. Let's create it. What you just told me, it'll be hilarious. The dream, we're going to create a series called Dreams. People are going to tell us their dreams, and we're going to create them. We're going to shoot it.
Shut up.
That's what I'm in now.
Is that an exclusive? Did anybody know that yet?
That's an exclusive. It's coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just got an exclusive here on Misfits Manifesto podcast. I don't know who you are, but you're welcome because you just got this exclusively.
Her album comes out April 28th. It's called In My Dreams.
Let's do it.
So that part of that stuff, you'll see some of that.
That is dope. So that's huge.
But
please keep us posted
how
on
you're
that.
in the moment. You just
you know you're in the moment.
Oh, we're doing something.
Yep.
We're doing something. Something's happening. You just got to know how to catch it.
So this is what I'm thinking, man. So I'm thinking about Harlem. I'm thinking about the Bronx. I'm thinking about the Troubadour. Like these are places where Compton, right? Where crazy stuff emerged, and I'm maybe not intuitively, but like at a certain point, they knew, oh, Harlem, something is happening in Harlem. Something is happening in Compton. Something's happening
in Seattle.
Right, Seattle, right.
Atlanta.
Exactly, like, and I'm always curious about, like, you, and I don't know, maybe this is hubris, but I want to get there. I want to get there, and I want to help to facilitate. I want to help to push, like you said, fund it. When you see something's happening, fund this new imagination so that it can proliferate, especially when it comes to like marginalized spaces because they're so underfunded. It would be dope to know like, hey, we're in a moment and to find a way to like maximize it.
I think the best way to get there is to always keep your mind open and your eye open from when you're in it. Because a lot of us are in it and don't know it.
And don't know you in it.
You're in the space where it's happening and you can just walk out and never just... You have to be. It's
deep.
It's the gift of awareness.
This is deep, bro. This is deep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Being aware, like, oh man, I'm in a.
Yes.
Ooh. Okay. We're here. All right. Don't move. Don't listen. Do y'all feel that? Do y'all hear? You know, it's that kind of thing, and the like-mindedness of the people that you're with. Because if you're the only one. Doesn't work. Yeah. It has to be a concerted effort. It has to be a group effort. You can't do it by yourself. Think about all the movements that happened. It was never one person. It was just a group of people thinking alike.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, we're just into this now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And this is what we're doing. Like, and it could be something that nobody else is doing, but they're just into it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and that's just, gangster rap came out of, that was innovative.
Yeah.
I mean, it was destructive.
Sure.
And disruptive, but it was innovative.
Yeah.
You know, but you were in it. Like I remember being, you know, in the car listening to the boys in the hood are always hard. Don't talk the trash. We'll pull your car. No nothing in life but to be legit. Don't quote me, boy, because I ain't said. Yep. I'm in the car with my uncle. I'm like, man, I remember him listening to the record. I'm hearing things that I see.
Yes.
On my block. I'm like,
dude.
Wow.
Authenticity. I think so let me just kind of reflect back to you what I'm hearing you say. Number one, you talk about this idea of mindfulness, of being able to appreciate when you're in a space. I think culture can work against that because it's so fast-paced, it's so loud, so distracted. You sometimes have a hard time being able to like appreciate where you are. So I'm reflecting that. Number two, I'm reflecting community. Like you got to be in a collaborative space with people who are able to be in that space comprehensively, and you're able to kind of interface with those of like minds. Yeah. But then this idea, what they were saying, you were looking out the window of the car and you were seeing it in real time. It was authentic. It resonated. And so I think there's power in getting people to a place of their own authenticity. That's where true creativity, I think, can live and flourish. and,
That's where it is.
and authenticity. That's huge.
Yeah. When you're trying to be somebody else, I have an artist who was a fan of other few artists. These artists that she was a fan of were avant-garde. They were very, eccentric.
Yeah.
She wasn't. But she's such a fan, she kept trying to be, a weirdo. I'm like, you're not a weirdo. And the moment you get on stage trying to be that, the crowd is going to stiffen out, and they're not going to roll with you because they're going to know it's not real. Because you're conjuring.
Yeah.
You're not being you.
Yeah.
The moment you are yourself and just be free to be you, whatever that is, you're going to be all right. But until then, I can't help you.
I think that's one of the hallmarks really of like your success is Warryn Campbell is Warryn Campbell literally every single place you are.
Everywhere
It doesn't
go.
matter where you in a pulpit. So you ain't gonna remember this. Maybe you will. We're at Midsummer Night's Magic. This is 20 years ago. And it's you, Nissan, a few other people, and we're on the back lot somewhere. I'll walk up to see me and Dre together, Irv's son. We walk up to say hello, and somehow the conversation about pastoring comes up. This is long before you start pastoring.
Uh-huh.
And these words you said to me, you said, if I could throw a party, I could plant a church. Your exact words.
Because at that time, we were throwing
Doing
parties.
the biggest
We were throwing
parties.
these parties.
I know.
It was, yeah.
But I think while that's funny, I think it also speaks to
Yeah.
like some of the same fundaments are involved. Like
A lot of them.
right?
Yeah.
In your capacity to like be authentic.
Yeah.
People are not seeing.
I remember that now.
No, you don't remember that.
I do.
You remember that?
Because that's the only one it was on the back. It was a Paramount back lot or something like that. Yeah, I remember that.
You said I could throw a party. I could plant a church, and I had no idea he was gonna really do it.
Me, I didn't have no idea.
Because I was
either.
in, us being in church, I was looking at you all like, if I was him, I would never come back to church. Y'all were living the dream, dude. You're on tour. You know what I'm saying? You're living the best life. And then you're like, oh, you going to pastor too? Oh, good luck with that, because this,
I know.
But you killed the game. All right, I have a final question. All right, so the podcast is called Misfits Manifesto, and I told you, man, the essence of it is just really thinking deeply about what's next. You know what I mean? And I'm just a huge fan of creatives, huge fan of innovators. And so Sergey Brin, and this is my final question for everybody I talk to. Sergey Brin has this quote. He says, if what you're doing is not seen by some as science fiction, it's not transformational enough. So when you think about kind of whatever it is, like you just talked about, this idea for the dream show, whatever it might be, when you think about like what's next for Warryn Campbell, what are the things that probably sound silly until they happen? Like, what's that science fiction dream, vision, idea that you have for yourself, for your ministry, for your music, whatever it might be, that is like a little crazy until you do it?
Well, I love that quote because, when I talked to you earlier and I told you that some people, looked at me like an alien for certain things I did.
Yeah.
That's where I feel most comfortable. When I know you are uncomfortable with what I just showed you, I'm like, yeah.
I'm in a sweet spot.
Even internally, working with Mary, it's funny. When I make my sister Tina uncomfortable about the idea, I know I got something. When she goes like, oh man, what?
Tina saved.
Yeah, she's like, what we doing? Like, it ain't even that. She may not even understand it. She
Got
like,
you.
Huh? Even the name Mary. She was like, I just said it out the blue.
Really?
I'm a very I think in the clouds a lot. I'm a dreamer, man. I dream a lot. So a lot of things I just have to just. But my thing is, if I thought about it, if it popped in my head, it can happen. It can literally. Yeah. If it's in here, then it can be done. I don't even care what it is. It can be done, right? Because if it's in my mind, that means somewhere I saw it.
Yeah.
You can't think anything you never saw.
Yep.
You get that?
I get it.
Even if what you saw was fictional.
Exactly. Yep.
It's in there, right?
It's in there, yeah.
And so, man, I forgot what you asked me now.
So just call your shot. In the next 5 years, 10 years, what's that science fiction thing you're thinking, dreaming about that if people heard it, they'd be like, man, that's nuts. But once you accomplish it, you know what I'm saying? They're going to be like, dang, that dude was on to something.
for me, right now, I'm working on this thing with my label.
Okay.
Right.
My Block, right?
My Block Inc.
Yep.
To take, because I did the hip hop stuff, I did the gospel stuff, did the R&B stuff, but to take the gospel and elevate it to this thing that, that people, see, the thing is, people understand how innovative gospel is, and it's kind of the basis for everything, right?
Yep.
And it gets passed over commercially.
Yeah.
And by me having all this commercial success, I'm thinking, how can I take that in my label and do something really big? And I watched years ago as Death Row, Bad Boy, but before that, the base of that was Motown.
Yeah.
Watch them have all these amazing artists, but they all moved together.
Yeah.
So they had their individual albums and stuff, but when they went on tour,
they did those reviews.
The
when they had
Motown
all,
Review.
Yeah, all those groups, yeah.
And it's very difficult to do now. Like, we're doing one Easter. We start Easter. You would think I would be in my pulpit. I'm not going to be there. I won't be at my church. My block does Easter at the Kennedy Center.
Shut up.
The whole roster's coming. All the gospel artists coming.
Well, I'm not doing this at my church. I'm coming to the Kennedy Center. Shoot.
Come on, man. Listen, we packing out the Kennedy Center. It's Mary, the Walls group, Lena Burt Miles, special guest coming. We got J.J. Harrison coming.
Dope.
The band, Red Hands.
Do you know I had them? I told you.
Yeah.
Ooh, they lit us up, dude. Hands down, I don't know who's messing with Red Hands right now.
Nobody.
I don't know who, dude.
They did a song together with Erica on her new album coming.
Did they? I can't
Nuts,
wait.
Nuts. But my thing is to move all those people together.
Yep.
To where you see it, like, it's a family. So
Yes.
they'll do movies together, tours together, TV shows together.
You
It's
Quincy
like,
Jones in it.
Yeah.
I see.
I'm sorry, I moved my chair. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I see where you headed.
Yeah, I mean, and when I talk about it to people, I am looked at like,
I love it.
huh? Well, how you gonna do it? How you gonna? We'll see.
That's gonna be the end of your documentary. That line right there. We'll see. That's fire, bro. Wayne, man, I love you, Warryn. I appreciate you, bro. This has been
thank you for having
extremely
me.
dope, man.
This is dope. It was very cold, but it's dope.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna be honest.
You
I'm
cold
freezing
now.
right now. I'm freezing. I'm so cold. But at least I'm not up here sweating while we talk, man. And you got on the deadlift for those of you watching in the car at home, wherever it might be. Warren's wearing $65,000 fully chinchilla Eskimo jacket, and
But
he
I'm
looks
warm.
amazing. But he's warm. He's nice and cozy.
Some parts of me are warm.
That's right. Your hands are freezing, ain't they?
Freezing.
You can't play piano right now.
No.
It's all good. If you're listening, if you're watching, please like, share, subscribe, do all those things. Warryn Campbell, Misfit Manifesto. You look out for what's happening next, because he's about to kill the game. He's gonna move some big crews around the country. We're gonna see it go real big.
Real big, baby.
Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for listening to the Misfit Manifesto. I trust this has been as, impactful for you as it has been for me. Now, what makes these type of moments in this community special is when you're a part of it. So I want to encourage you to go to misfitmanifesto.com, join the conversation, and join the community. I believe something is on the horizon, but I don't want to do it alone. I want to do it with you. So come be a part, and let's see some amazing things happen.